Hello then, good afternoon. This is L24 World News Program, and starting with the main headlines. U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's visit to Taiwan has enraged a long list of events to be carried out in the region after China decided to severely respond to the act. Clashes between Armenian and Azerbaijani forces started again Wednesday in the separatist region of Nagorno-Karabakh, where 3 soldiers were reported killed. Following the U.S. Supreme Court's decision to invalidate the constitutional right to an abortion, Joe Biden signed a second executive order on Wednesday that tried to safeguard access to reproductive health care. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas sent a letter to the Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, regarding the full membership of Palestine in the United Nations. Algeria celebrates today, Thursday, the People's National Army Day, which is on the 4th of August of each year. U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's visit to Taiwan has enraged a long list of events to be carried out in the region after China decided to severely respond to the act. Chinese government considered the visit violation of its territory and started a series of military drills surrounding Taiwan. The scene in the region has seen vibrant reactions from all countries, waiting for what the next days will reveal. Usama Ayati.
The visit of U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi to Taiwan has enraged a wave of criticism and provocation from the Chinese government, considering this move a direct provocation to security in the world and destruction of peace in the region.
What Pelosi has done is by no means a defense or protection of democracy, but a provocation and violation of China's sovereignty and territorial integrity. As many people have sharply pointed out, Pelosi's dangerous provocation purely aims to create personal political gain. This is completely an ugly farce.
Few hours after Pelosi landed in Taiwan, China stated that it's conducting military maneuvers. The People's Liberation Army announced that the maneuvers would take place in the waters and skies near Taiwan and include live-fire drills from August 4th to August 7th across multiple locations, as well as the firing of long-range ammunition in the Taiwan Strait.
The Chinese military and the Chinese side can only communicate with the U.S. and Taiwan independent separatist forces in a language that they can understand.
Taiwanese defense officials decried the multiple military exercises announced by China, stating that such an act severely violates their country's territorial sovereignty.
The Ministry of National Defense reiterates that China's use of military powers to meet differences and hegemonic attitude that destroys regional peace and stability are not helping its international image.
South Korea's President Yoon Suk-yeol has been accused of trying to placate China by avoiding Nancy Pelosi. Yoon reportedly spoke to Pelosi on the phone, but will not meet her in person during the visit to Seoul on Thursday. Yoon also stated that U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's planned visit to the heavily fortified inter-Korean border reflects a strong deterrence against North Korea.
Pelosi's delegation is scheduled to visit the Panmunjom-jae area. President Yoon said that this visit will become a sign of a strong deterrence from South Korea and the United States against North Korea.
As nervous tensions grew over Nancy Pelosi's visit to Taiwan, Asian stocks rose in a choppy session on Thursday, a bit dissipated, and as investors took cues from robust U.S. data and earnings.
The 55th ASEAN Meeting of Foreign Ministers meeting was convened in Phnom Penh, Cambodia, at a time of what they considered significant volatility and insecurity. The meeting had extensive discussions on recent regional and global developments, including the situation in Myanmar, Russia's military operation in Ukraine, and cross-straits developments.
In the short span of past 6 months, China and ASEAN have made encouraging progress in various areas. Our all-round strategic partnership has had a strong and good start. We safeguarded the peaceful oasis. Faced with a volatile international security situation, we have enhanced strategic communication, worked hand in hand to overcome various external challenges, jointly maintained the hard-earned peace and stability of the region.
Clashes between Armenian and Azerbaijani forces started again Wednesday in the separatist region of Nagorno-Karabakh, where 3 soldiers were reported killed. Nagorno-Karabakh military officials said drone attacks carried out by Azerbaijani forces killed 2 of their troops and wounded another. 14 Azerbaijani's defense ministry said one of the country's service members died in what it alleged was an act of terrorist sabotage act by illegal Armenian armed groups.
As a result of the revenge retaliatory operation carried out by the units of the Azerbaijani army, the Kyrgyz Hill, as well as the Sadi Baba, and a number of other important commanding heights along the Karabakh ridge of the Lesser Caucasus mountain range were taken under control.
Influential Shiite cleric Muqtada Sadr told the followers on Wednesday to continue the sit inside Iraq's government zone and call for dissolution of parliament and early elections, signaling a deepening power struggle with his rivals.
I am confident that the majority of people are fed up with the ruling class entirely, including some who belong to the movement. Therefore, take advantage of my presence to end corruption, and the old faces, no matter their party allegiances, will not be present anymore. God willing, through democratic process. Please be aware, through a revolutionary peaceful democratic process first, and then an early democratic election process after the dissolve of the current parliament.
On its routes to Lebanon for a cargo that foreign powers hope will be the first of many to help relieve a worldwide food crisis. First grain ship to leave Ukrainian port during the conflict on its lands went through the Bosphorus Strait on Wednesday. It happened at a time when the Ukrainian president expressed caution on the cargo. British Ministry of Defense has announced that a Ukrainian strike against a Russian ammunition train has likely cut off Russia's railway linking Kherson to Crimea. The rail line represents a vital supply route for Kremlin forces, who have used Crimea as base from which to launch operations across southern Ukraine. Ukraine is seeking an opportunity to speak directly with Chinese leader Xi Jinping to put an end to the war with Russia. President Vladimir Zelensky said, according to the South China Morning Post, in an interview with the SCMP, the Ukrainian leader urged China as a permanent member of the UN Security Council to use its outsized political and economic influence over Russia to bring an end to the conflict. Ukraine said Russia has started creating a new offensive as NATO moved closer to the most significant expansion of the alliance in decades to join Sweden and Finland. The U.S. Senate on Wednesday voted to let Finland and Sweden join NATO, the most significant expansion of a 30-member alliance since 1990. The Senate easily surpassed the 2/3 majority required in 100-member chamber to ratify Sweden's and Finland's entry documents.
On this vote, the yeas are 95, the nays are 1, and 1 senator responded present. 2/3 of the senators present, a quorum being present, having voted in the affirmative, the resolution of ratification is agreed to.
But Finland and Sweden's admission would also bring distinct challenges. Sweden still isn't spending 2% of GDP on defense, and it doesn't plan to until at least 2028. Finland has announced a one-time defense spending boost, but it's not clear whether it will sustain those higher investments, which again are the minimal investments needed for NATO.
Multiple European countries have rolled out measures for reducing unnecessary gas consumption amid the energy crisis caused by natural gas inflow cut from the Nord Stream 1 pipeline, as well as by the heat wave hitting the continent. Responding to the energy-saving deal, Germany has switched off the overnight lighting of a number of monuments and historic buildings, including the City Hall and Berlin State Opera in the capital. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz blamed Moscow for delays in the return of a gas turbine vessel for the Nord Stream 1 pipeline. Moscow denied the allegations and cited issues with the turbine as the reason for lower gas flows through the Nord Stream 1. The OPEC Plus group decided to increase oil production by 100,000 barrels per day, an amount analysts said that it was set back to US after the oil alliance ignored Western pressure to pump more supply into the market. Zahra Farjani.
The OPEC Plus alliance continues to persistently ignore all Western pressures and American moves, especially after approving a slight increase that does not exceed 100,000 barrels per day in its production for September. The oil group, consisting of 23 countries, justified its decision with insufficient investments affecting the provision of adequate oil supply to meet the growing demand beyond 2023.
In today's OPEC and non-OPEC meetings of the Joint Ministerial Committee in countries that signed the cooperation agreement, we decided to increase the total production by 100,000 barrels per day in September. After looking at the reports of the technical committee, it became clear that the demand for oil during this period was not according to the expected quantities.
The increase, equivalent to 0.1% of global demand, follows weeks of speculation that Biden's trip to the Middle East would lead to an increase in oil production, in a clear message to the alliance that the most important thing is to maintain market stability in light of rising geopolitical tensions and uncertainty. As a reaction, the Biden administration said it focused on keeping oil prices down.
What we're focused on is the bottom line for us is that reducing the price of oil in the market is the most important thing, and that's what we're seeing, and that's what we're going to continue to work on.
For its part, the United Nations denounced the greed of big oil and gas companies and urged countries to tax gas company profits and use the money to support the most vulnerable people.
It is immoral for oil and gas companies to be making record profits from this energy crisis on the back of the poorest people and communities and at a massive cost to the climate. I urge all governments to tax these excessive profits and use the funds to support the most vulnerable people through these difficult times.
This decision came after the release of a report on the global impact of the war in Ukraine. As the world proceeds to a multipolar system and new alliances are trying to find a place in the new world order, the question is raised, could Biden have failed in his country's leadership in the world?
Top Iranian and US officials will resume talks in Vienna this week on reviving the 2015 nuclear pact. Officials from both countries said on Wednesday, though they played down chances of a breakthrough and placed the unknowns on each other to compromise, the ball is Washington court to save the pact. And the negotiation, Bakari Kani tweeted before heading to Vienna, calling on Washington to show maturity, act, and responsibly. And as we can see, the President, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, has came to the Institute of the National Army. As you can see, it's been received and been honored for coming this day, the 4th of August, that has been also declared by the President Tebboune that the 4th of August will be considered as a national day for the People's National Army. And now let's hear the national anthem. So, as we have seen today, Algeria is celebrating the National Day of People's National Army, which was approved by the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, to commemorate the date of the transformation of the National Liberation Army into the People's National Army. Now, to resume our news bulletin, during a general debate of the 10th Review Conference of the Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons, which is held in New York from August 1st to 26, 2022, Permanent Representative of Algeria to the United Nations, Ambassador Nadir Al-Arbawi, highlighted on the contributions of Algeria in the field of disarmament, particularly in nuclear disarmament. Mr. Al-Arbawi recalled in his speech that Algeria was the first country to chair the work of the conference on this latter in 1979. He also called on all the parties to show a willingness to engage in constructive dialogue and mutual cooperation in order to guarantee the success of work of the conference. Still with Algeria celebrates today, Thursday, the People's National Army Day, which is on the 4th of August of each year. This national date was approved by the Algerian President, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, in recognition of a pivotal role of military institution in the process of building the nation, preserving national unity, and defending national sovereignty. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas sent a letter to the Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, regarding the full membership of Palestine in the United Nations. The letter dealt with the Palestinian president's latest meeting with a number of state leaders and Palestine initiative that relates to full membership of Palestine in the UN as a right. The units of the Sahrawi People's Liberation Army carried out a new attack targeting the entrenchments of Moroccan occupation forces in the Ausward and the Draiga sectors, according to the military statement issued by the Sahrawi Ministry of Defense. The statement adds that the army's attack continued targeting the strongholds of Moroccan occupation forces. Congo has asked the spokesman of the UN mission to leave the country, blaming him for fueling tensions that led to a deadly protest last week. MONUSCO's Matthias Gilman had made indelicate and inappropriate statements, according to Congo's government. A statement from Congo's Foreign Affairs Ministry said that the presence of the official in the country was, quote, not like to promote a climate of mutual trust and calm between Congolese institutions and MONUSCO. Following the U.S. Supreme Court's decision to invalidate the constitutional right to for the matter of abortion, Joe Biden signed a second executive order on Wednesday that tries to safeguard access to reproductive health care.
As states in America push a wave of laws restricting abortion, U.S. President Joe Biden signed on Wednesday the second executive order to protect abortion rights in the states, as he described the Supreme Court and Republicans as clueless about the power of American women. Biden participated in a virtual meeting led by Vice President Kamala Harris, where he signed the order from the White House residence.
I don't think the court has any notion, for that matter, or the Republican Party for that matter, to decide how far to press their extreme agenda and how women are going to respond. They don't have a clue about the power of American women.
The order asks the federal health department to consider allowing Medicaid funds to be used to help women who seek abortion to travel between states to obtain access to the procedure. This move came one day after Kansas voters protected the right to abortion in the conservative state, which is a top issue for the Democrats.
This was a powerful result yesterday. I asked people from Kansas, what are we going to expect here? They expected it to be a cliffhanger. It wasn't. It was in the range of 60-40 on a very controversial, well-publicized issue. I think the message is out there that the reaction across America to this Supreme Court decision is powerful, and people are not staying home. They're showing up at the polls.
Wednesday's order is the latest in a series of executive actions from the Biden administration since the constitutional right to an abortion was eliminated in Dobbs v. Jackson Women's Health Organization in June.
In Europe, Britain is likely to witness the highest interest rate hike in the last 27 years. However, experts have warned that inflation in the country can reach a new peak of 50%. Meanwhile, France's National Assembly voted in favor of raising pensions, capping rent increases, and allowing companies to pay out high tax-free bonuses after heated debate.
Despite the growth achieved in the second quarter, some experts believe that the triple pressure of energy crisis, high inflation, and tightening of monetary policy may plunge Europe into a recession. The Bank of England is expected to raise interest rates by the most since 1995 in an attempt to decrease inflation. Most investors and economists predict the BOE will increase its benchmark rate by 0.5 percentage point to 1.75%, its highest level since late 2008.
So we have an inflation problem at the moment. Inflation is likely to rise into double digits over the course of the next few months. Central banks need to do something about this. Interest rates have been rock bottom for many years. They now need to raise interest rates to deal with this inflation problem.
On the other hand, France's parliament approved a bill that will lift incomes and allow companies to make higher tax-free bonus payments to employees amid soaring inflation. With households struggling in the face of spiraling inflation, the government had been under pressure to pass the €20 billion package quickly.
Dear colleagues, we can be proud. Through our talks on these benches, sometimes until dawn, we have managed to find compromises together. Compromises that address the emergency and are part of a common logic, that of the ambitious policy we are putting forth to keep on bettering the daily lives of the French. Given the current health crisis and the war in Ukraine, in the face of an inflation unseen since 1985, we had to act fast and efficiently.
The inflation relief bill was approved after the National Assembly reached agreement. UK inflation was measured as the highest rate of CPI inflation since records began in 1997. EU inflation was higher than maybe more than 1% in June. The inflation reading could push the Federal Reserve into an even more aggressive position as the Resolution Foundation think tank predicts inflation in UK to hit 15% in early 2023.
Great Barrier Reef showed the largest amount of coral cover in 36 years. However, the Australian Institute of Marine Sciences said that the reef remains vulnerable to increasingly frequent mass bleaching, said in its annual report on Thursday. And now let's have a reminder for our main top stories. U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's visit to Taiwan has enraged a long list of events to be carried out in the region after China decided to severely respond to the act. Clashes between Armenia and Azerbaijani forces started again Wednesday in the separatist region of Nagorno-Karabakh, where the 3 soldiers were reported killed. Following the U.S. Supreme Court's decision to invalidate the constitutional right to an abortion, Joe Biden signed a second executive order on Wednesday that tries to safeguard access to reproductive health care. Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas sent a letter to the Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, regarding the full membership of Palestine in the UN. Algeria is celebrating today, Thursday, the People's National Army Day, which is on the 4th of August of each year. That's all we have for now. For more updates, you can follow our network pages, our Facebook, YouTube, as well as Instagram. Bye for now.